Did you know that America alone spends over $10 billion every Halloween? Once a year, millions of people collectively dress up as witches, goblins, superheroes, and everything in between, all out to have fun and make mischief. But haven't you ever asked yourself why we celebrate Halloween? While today, Halloween is $1 billion industry, it hasn't always been that way. The word Halloween comes from the word hallow, meaning holy person, and een, deriving from the word Eve. Otherwise known as All Hallows Eve, Halloween goes all the way back to the ancient Celtic festival of Samhain, a 3-day fire festival which essentially represented death and rebirth. The Celts, who lived in what is now Ireland, Scotland, the UK, and parts of Northern Europe, based their calendar on the wheel of a year, divided into 2 halves, the light and the dark. The transition from light to dark was celebrated by the fire festival. The word Samhain, translated into modern Irish, literally means summer's end. Samhain celebrated the dead, and in particular the celebratory feast paid homage to the loved ones recently lost, essentially as an invitation for their spirits to rejoin the living. Unfortunately, many of Samhain's original rituals have been lost, but what we do know of their holiday traditions from Celtic folklore and Roman historians is that the rituals were intended to connect the living to the dead, including costumes, some of animals and scary faces to ward off the unfriendly spirits, feasting and making lanterns from hollowed out vegetables. We know that they made gruesome sacrifices to the spirits, using wild or farm animals, and it was popular for tricks or pranks to be played by humans and then blamed on mischievous spirits. As a result of the Roman invasion, with most of the Celtic land being conquered by Rome in 43 CE, the spread of the Roman ways of Catholicism forced a lot of Celtic traditions and beliefs to evolve, or eventually become completely repressed. As a result, many of the practices were converted to fit the more Christian narrative. Samhain became All Saints' Day, which was also referred to as All Hallows' Day. It was intended to be a day to celebrate Christian saints and important figures, instead of spirits and the dead. While Halloween has its origins on the British Isles, its popularity in former British colonies was lacking. The Puritans who came to colonize America were Protestant and didn't celebrate any Catholic holidays, as they were believed to lead to sin. In the early days of the American colonies, celebrations of Halloween were mostly forbidden, as they were deemed either too pagan or too Catholic by the Protestant colonizers, though elements of it can be found in some harvest-related celebrations around the 1800s. The mid-19th century saw a large influx of immigrants, especially Irish immigrants, who were greatly impacted by the potato famine. With these people came Halloween customs, out of which one of the world's most favourite holidays was formed. While the Celtic sacrifices were traded in by the Romans for food offerings to the poor, the tricks and pranks continued. In the mid-19th century, in keeping with the mischief, children would dress in costumes and be given money or fruit in exchange for artistic offerings like poems, songs, or even jokes instead of prayers. By the late 19th century, children were playing seemingly harmless pranks on their small local communities. The parents of said children eventually had enough of the pranks and looked for ways to stop the mischief. This led to the birth of trick-or-treating as we know it today. By the 20th century, we would finally see the commercialization of Halloween. Pre-made costumes entered the holiday for both children and adults. After the Second World War in the 1950s, the economic boom had candy manufacturers hopping on the Halloween bandwagon. Cinema and television are also largely responsible for the popularity of Halloween as a mass-market holiday, with movie theatres in the 50s offering scary movie festivals, and with the new dawn of television in the 60s came Halloween specials during the season. As of today, the National Retail Federation states that in America alone, predicted spending on Halloween will be approximately $10.6 billion. It's hard to tell if the true meaning of Halloween has been lost or not. Halloween has progressively evolved far beyond the days of the pagan fire rituals. For more than a month each year, costume stores come up out of nowhere, candy and decorations dominate the aisles of supermarkets, and scary movies take over TV stations and theatres worldwide. Whether you celebrate Halloween or not, go as a gruesome ghoul or a fairy, or ignore the holiday altogether, Halloween has stood the test of time and proven itself as a holiday that's here to stay. Remember to let us know in the comments down below whether or not you will be celebrating Halloween this year. And don't forget to like and subscribe.